welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and takeover news update show. And we've got some exciting news coming in on Jeremie Frimpong. Obviously, a right back we were scouting and looking at in January. He obviously has played right wing back a lot. Very attacking minded right back, would be an absolutely fantastic signing for United, and we'll get into why in just a second. But the 22-year-old right back with 17 goal contributions is in talks with Manchester United, and it has been said that basically he's open to leave Leverkusen in the summer, and Leverkusen have agreed to let him go in the summer if the right price is met, because Leverkusen have already got his replacement lined up. United in talks to sign him. United have obviously been looking at him for a while. We've almost signed him in January. Had Ten Hag been backed, and United very much the favourites in this. It said that Wan-Bissaka will be sold and not Dalot to do this, which is an interesting one because I think Wan-Bissaka's been better lately. But it's about Ten Hag, what he wants to do in his vision. Other news came out today. We discussed it in my video earlier about the debt, the rising debt prices at United, what that might mean. What it has said is basically because United are in so much debt, Jim Ratcliffe might potentially not be allowed to buy United if he's going to pile more debt onto them, which is more news coming out that Qatar are set to beat Jim Ratcliffe because Qatar aren't going to put debt on the club. And United have been instructed that they can't have any more debt, etc., etc. That report coming out. But I want to get into the transfer news because I do think it's exciting. It's a new player. United finally linked to someone. I think some exciting things. Again, I have to say, I'm not super familiar with the player. I don't know a lot about him. But what I do know is he's a young player, like a Malacia type, but obviously very different. That is playing very well in the Bundesliga. Is a player that Ten Hag wants, a player that suits Ten Hag's system. What I'll tell you about Frimpong is he actually played in the Man City Academy with Sancho. Him and Sancho linked up a lot in the Man City Academy. And I do think, although he might not help in areas of build-up, and I think potentially we still need to improve playing out from the back, in terms of a right back that we know that can get forward, that can help Anthony, that can help Sancho, that's what we get. We get a right back that's all of a sudden a threat, because Dalot ain't a threat and Wan-Bissaka ain't a threat. Let's be honest. There's this myth that Dalot's good at attacking. He's not. Dalot is fucking useless at attacking. He can't cross to save his life. I don't know where that myth came from. But this is a guy that gets the best out of Anthony. Gets the best out of Sancho. Anthony, and I've said this for a while, is at his best when he can do these 1-2s and he's got runners. This guy is a runner. This guy is the guy that makes the movement. This guy with Anthony, this guy with Sancho is like, how Sancho was really good with Hakimi. This is the kind of fullback that I think gets the best out of our right wingers. Doesn't really help in the build-up issues, doesn't really help defensive issues. But for £20-odd million, United interested in him, United in talks. For me, this would be a very good signing. So I am going to get into this story as well. We will talk about Qatar as well. Big up everybody in the chat. Smash that like, smash that subscribe. People saying Sancho has to go. We will talk about that later. Ten Hag ready to let Sancho go. We will talk about that news in maybe tomorrow's video or maybe later. I wouldn't let Sancho go. I don't think he's had 90 minutes under Ten Hag. Ten Hag's giving Weghorst all these minutes, but not Sancho. Yes, Sancho hasn't done lots to deserve the minutes, but we can't. I feel a bit like with Sancho, he needs a bit more game time to prove himself, and I don't think he's been awful as well. We will get into sale news as well. That's all about basically Sir Jim Ratcliffe's debt. Basically, it might be paving the way for Qatar to beat Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and that maybe the Glazers have to sell to Qatar because they need to get rid of the debt, etc., etc., etc. as well. So lots going on. Alex B said the match versus Newcastle is a perfect example of why not to hope certain players during the international break. Scott's shocking again as expected. I mean, the thing with Scott McTominay is he has 2 really good games, or 1 really good game. Everyone freaking hypes him and then forgets how shitty he is for the other 10 games. I mean, a lot of people talking about Sancho. Let me know what you do with Sancho in the chat. Would you let him go? Would you keep him? I still think there's more in Sancho, but I think this time next year, if he's not proved it, we'd have to sell him. So yeah. Anyway, continuing on. Been worse games than yesterday's, but United turned up for home games, not away. I mean, that's a big problem. Again, we'll talk about later in the show. United not turning up for away games. But I want to get into the news. I want to get into the news story on the screen quickly. Everything you need to know about Frimpong. Then we'll talk about the guy. We'll go into statistics, etc. It said exclusive, new. Frimpong. It says talks between his agent Jeffrey Lemert and Manchester United have started. The first round was positive. Ten Hag admires the player. Frimpong is open to leave Leverkusen in the summer. Contract until 2025. Top season of 22 years of age. 17 goal contributions at right back. So I'm sure you guys probably know the players if you've been following my channel for a while. I spoke about him quite heavily in January. We know, obviously, in January, when we were going into January, or really December, really, Wan-Bissaka had only played 4 minutes of football. Ten Hag was desperate to shift off Wan-Bissaka, and replace him with this guy in January. We were scouting him a lot in January, we inquired about him in January. He obviously wanted to come to United in January, and he's at Bayer Leverkusen. You see Man United and Ten Hag come for you. He wants to come to United, and we did get Romano speaking about this guy, and Romano was confirming back in January, United are interested in this guy. Ten Hag likes this guy. This guy wants to come to United. If United have the funds, it could happen in January. Obviously, United don't have the funds because they're in debt. They're in financial crisis. It then has to wait to the summer. But we know from Romano, and that United have liked this guy. Ten Hag has liked this guy, and the player is very much open to coming to United. And we've known that for a very long time. So it was no surprise to me that a news story like this came out. The timing of all these news stories coming out about Kane, Frimpong, and De Jong, as soon as we lose, maybe it's PR spin releasing these stories, but this is obviously a good source, especially when it comes to Bundesliga news, and this is a player that we know United wants. So I don't think it's made up PR-driven stories, like sometimes it is, but I do think that United are genuinely interested in this guy, and I do think this could be a first summer signing. I think it will be him or Timber. I think this summer we sign a big striker, we sign a number 8, and it's between Frimpong and Timber to be that kind of right-back spot. Timber will help more in build-up, and it's the versatility to be a centre-back. Work with Ten Hag at Ajax. Frimpong is that guy that obviously can help more so in the attacking mind. If I was United and I was smart, because United need to sell a lot of players, and we'll dive into that. Apparently, United are going to make like 200 million in sales. I'd sell Maguire and I'd sell one of Wan-Bissaka or Dalot. I think it will be Wan-Bissaka, and use that money to get Frimpong and Timber in. So you've got two people that can potentially compete at right back, but then also Timber can give that cover at centre back because Timber will be there to help improve build-up issues. Frimpong will be there to help with Anthony and Sancho and improve attacking issues down the right. And United have a lot of problems down that right-hand side of the sense of we aren't a threat. Dalot isn't a threat. Wan-Bissaka isn't a threat. Anthony thrives with an attacking fullback. Sancho thrives with an attacking fullback. Sancho and Hakimi thrived. We saw Anthony at Ajax thriving with runners, thriving with movement. And I do think this is a signing that could also improve the whole team. 22 years of age. It would be very smart signing for United to make as well. He could out United, get into the Champions League. Well, he wouldn't be able to play until next season. So I'm not sure how he'd do that as well. 1 billion in debt, no signing transfers are impossible. I mean, we'll talk about the debt and the Glazers in a second as well. What about Maguire? He needs to pack his bags and say, I can get the best out of Sancho. I keep him. Maguire and McTominay need to go first as well. Sancho, I'd give him another season, same here. And the little I've seen of Frimpong, he seems a bit defensively suspect. I need to see more of him. And that is the one weakness I was about to dive into. His weakness is being defensively suspect. Obviously, being in the Bundesliga, it's a bit of a farmers' league as well. But I think potentially he's a good option to have. I mean, I would have him and Wan-Bissaka as my options and get rid of Dalot, because I think if he's defensively suspect, Wan-Bissaka's a good backup, and Wan-Bissaka's been a lot better than Dalot. But, Wan-Bissaka isn't a Ten Hag type fullback, and, Ten Hag's been very clear he does not want Wan-Bissaka, despite him being good this season, and is still looking to renew Diego Dalot's contract. But I want to get into a little bit more stories on him. A couple of people said I would prefer Timber because he's much more reliable ball player in the first phase of play, so would help us play out from the back. Is essentially what he's saying. But as far as getting the best out of Anthony and Sancho at right wing, he's one of the best fits. Direct inside and outside runner who has an eye for goal. For the price, I like it, around 20 million. So, defensively suspect, potentially some people say during Timber, but look, I mean, Dalot's understudied. I don't know what this guy's on about, but this is, look at his statistics here. Look how consistently good he's been. As you can see, 9.0s, 8.0s, all around the board. Very, very consistent player with his scores there. I mean, always getting goals and assists. Has been playing fullback a lot. And Manchester United are interested in signing the right back Frimpong with 17 goals and assists this season. Jack says, I like Timber inverted fullback idea, but for me, I'd personally prefer a profile like Frimpong. We struggle in build up, yes, but that can be resolved in other positions with someone like Timber. Anthony will only become more isolated. I couldn't see a way he thrives with Timber at right back. And I think he makes a good point here. I think Timber's someone we look for centre back. And I think, if we want to get the best out of Anthony, you do want someone like Frimpong. And Ten Hag signed Anthony for a reason. And Ten Hag signed Anthony because he's a system player. And we're not getting the best out of Anthony because he doesn't have the runners, he doesn't have the movement. But we see what Anthony can do. And I do think having a fullback like this next to Anthony really brings the best out of him as well. Fun fact of the day here, Jeremie Frimpong and Jadon Sancho previously played together in the Manchester City Academy. The right back and right wing link up could finally be coming for Jadon. He's been missing at United. There's always that kind of question. We were talking about Anthony a lot, but if Jadon Sancho was here next season as well, this could be someone that really improves them because he worked really well for Kimi. Obviously, there's question marks over Jadon Sancho's future. There was actually a story saying that Ten Hag might rather prefer Amad Diallo to Jadon Sancho and isn't a big fan of Jadon Sancho. And we will get into that in later on in the video or in another video. But Very interesting here as well. Two match showed how vital Casemiro is. Shaw can play for Leacher. Rashi goes hot and cold, and Cass is the heart of the squad, 100%. Without Casemiro, United in trouble. And it's said today by Samuel Luckhurst, I think, or Rob Dawson or someone, that it's Kane, a number 8, and a right back. But for me, we need to add a Casemiro understudy to that. We need to get rid of McTominay and get someone that can back up Casemiro, because, you know, we can sign Kane and we can sign De Jong, let's say, and we can sign Frimpong. But if we don't have Casemiro, we're still in trouble as well. And Mbappe to United, not the kind of player we want. An important Bayer Leverkusen brought a Brazilian player today, on the right-hand side. And I was literally about to get into that because it came out today that Bayer Leverkusen would be willing to let him go because they've actually just signed a new right-back, which is interesting as well. And it was obviously said, talks have obviously begun between the player. But I want to get into the other news regarding Frimpong as well, because there's quite a lot to get into. It said that Manchester United are interested in Jeremie Frimpong and he could leave Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously, the Athletic said today that Wan-Bissaka's done well the second part of the season, but United will listen to offers from him in the summer should there be interest. And I think Wan-Bissaka will at least drive his price tag up because of that. It was said that Manchester United have started talks with Jeremie Frimpong's agents, and the first round was very positive. Ten Hag admires Frimpong and he's open to leaving Bayer Leverkusen in the summer. And it was said that Jeremie Frimpong is a top target for Manchester United. His agents at Manchester United have had initial talks, and Bayer Leverkusen already preparing Frimpong's departure, as they've already got a right back coming in for next season, which was very interesting as well. It was said that Erik ten Hag wants to clear out the squad and sell a lot of players as well. And it was said another attacking right back will come to the agenda if Wan-Bissaka is sold. Exploratory talks have also been held with Bayern Munich's Benjamin Pavard, but Frimpong seems to be the priority here. So that was obviously the news coming in on Frimpong, and we can do a little bit of search, see if anything else is coming in here. A lot of people talking about him being the ideal piece to the puzzle. Obviously, his excellent form in the Bundesliga, as I mentioned. Obviously, the news on Frimpong here. He could leave the club because Bayer lose, and this is a really good point here. It was said earlier today that Manchester United are interested in Jeremie Frimpong, and he could leave the club as Bayer Leverkusen have completed the signing of another right back. Don't you think it's interesting that when Manchester United are in talks with this guy, and Manchester United are in quite serious talks to sign this player, all of a sudden Bayer Leverkusen have completed another signing who would potentially be his replacement? That Man United have been in talks with this guy since January. Manchester United have been scouting this guy since January. We know that United are obviously a big fan of this guy, and Bayer Leverkusen making plans to already sign a replacement, which really shows that United potentially in a strong position here as well. He's been quoted at 25 million, not 35 million. I do think 25 million is an absolute bargain. I think we could get 20 million for Wan-Bissaka. Barcelona talks to Wan-Bissaka. I don't know if that is true. We do need a DM. I've said this multiple times. If I was United, I'd get Frimpong, I'd get Jurriën Timber or Kim Min-jae, I'd get a Casemiro understudy, I'd get a Frankie de Jong-esque player, and I would get someone like Kane or Ostenham. They're the 5 signings that United need to make. I would then potentially look at David Raya or Diogo Costa to help with build-up. I do think we potentially need a goalkeeper, but it seems that the hair is set to stay as well. 350 watching and only 77 likes, guys, so please do smash that like button. We have been linked to Ansu Fati, but not a lot of links in it as well. Liverpool getting first. We've been through this before. I don't know. It depends. Now, the annoying thing about this is that obviously we can't make any moves until ownership is sorted. So United are in talks with this guy, and United might agree personal terms with this guy. And this guy is very likely. This is what's very likely to happen. Man United want the player. Bayer Leverkusen have agreed to sell the player. Bayer Leverkusen have lined up his replacement. So Bayer Leverkusen will sell the player. The price tag is 25 million. Now, if Manchester United don't come in with 25 million and another team do, Frimpong goes to that other team. However, he wants Manchester United. Manchester United want him. Manchester United might explain, we've got a situation with new ownership. It might take a while, but we want you. When we get the new ownership sorted, we're going to pay the money to get you. You're 25 million. Hold on. Can you wait a month? Do you have to go to Liverpool in June, or can you wait till July to come to United? Are you Gakpo? Can you wait or not? And I think the situation United are is they've had talks with him. They've had positive talks. They might get through to him and be like, we are signing you in the summer. Stay positive. Don't join someone else. We're coming for you in July. Boom, boom, boom. I think that United's initial talks will be very much, we have got this new ownership. Once this is sorted, we are coming for you. He's 25 million. Ten Hag's wanted him since January. He wants the club. Bayer Leverkusen will sell. It's one of those where you look at it and you go, simple. This is simple. This is a done deal for United. This is an easy deal for United to do. However, when it's Manchester United and transfers, it's never simple. Gakpo should have been simple. He wanted the club. We were Gakpo's first choice. Gakpo was Ten Hag's first choice. PSV willing to sell Gakpo for a good price. We should have got Gakpo. We didn't. It's going to be the same with Frimpong. We should get him, but we're Manchester United. It can't guarantee that we do get him. But this is one of those transfers that I very much see happening. I look at De Jong and I go, I'd like De Jong to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen. I look at other transfers like Jeremie Frimpong. I think this could happen, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know if Ten Hag's prioritising centre-back. I think this Jeremie Frimpong will depend on Maguire or Lindelof. I look at Harry Kane and I go, Ten Hag wants this to happen, but I don't trust Daniel Levy. Jeremie Frimpong's got every single attribute that I look at and I go, okay, I think this deal can happen. The player wants to come, he's an affordable price, and the club will sell him. That's the three things you need to know that a transfer is possible of happening, and that's the three things that it has. And I think it would be a very good signing for United. Buy Edson Alvarez as backup for Casemiro, potentially as well. And what are the chances of getting De Jong in the summer? It's really dependent on if Barcelona force him out, because it's said that Barcelona need to sell players to raise money to buy players. However, Barcelona always find a way around. It was said last summer Barcelona will have to sell De Jong. Obviously, they didn't sell De Jong, they found their way. I think if Barcelona seriously have to sell De Jong and Barcelona seriously force De Jong out because they physically can't sign on if they sell De Jong, United will go for De Jong, and I think United could potentially get De Jong if he's forced out. But I think De Jong wants to stay at Barcelona, and he's playing well at Barcelona, that only if Barcelona force him out will United get Frankie De Jong, in my opinion, if you want my honest opinion. I want to actually go to his stats here. I want to give you a little bit overview on this player that we're going to sign. So obviously, very good season so far. Good injury record as well, 22 years of age. But it'll be really deep dive into his stats because he does often play right wing, and I want to highlight that to you, or right wing back as well. He's worth 35 million euros, and it's reported that United could get him for 25 million pounds, which is about 28 million euros, I believe. So, good value for money. Dutch player. So, of course, Ten Hag will like him. Obviously, been playing very, very well. We scroll down a little bit about him. We look at him this season. As you can see, 17 goal contributions in 2,800 minutes from the right mid, right back position. Obviously, he's been more of a right midfielder, but I see him more as a right wing back. He obviously can play right mid and he can play right back. And obviously, majority of his goals and assists have come from right midfield. But it's, they say he plays right mid, but he's very much more of a right wing back, very much an attacking kind of midfielder here as well. Played a lot for Leverkusen, who are having a decent season, as you can see. Very good injury record as well, which is something we need. Very, very attacking minded fullback. And as you can see, he was in the Manchester City academy. He did play with Jadon Sancho. They linked up very well. So also, maybe he gets the best out of Jadon Sancho. I mean, if we look at Bayer Leverkusen this season as well, they're having an all right season. Didn't mean to get that up, but they're having a few poor results here and there, but they're having an all right season. Definitely improved lately as well, and he has been an important part of that. So I do think this is one to keep an eye on. I do think that this could be one of those. How Malacia was our first signing. I do think Frimpong could be like Malacia, in the sense of it's a very obvious, easy first signing to make, first signing to do, and I do think this could be very much a Malacia signing. Obviously, it'd be like twice the price of Malacia, but Malacia was our first signing under Ten Hag. I think this is one that's easy to do because he wants to come. The club will sell him, affordable price, player of need. I think this could be potentially her first summer signing under Erik ten Hag. Guys, please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new as well. Centre-back still seems more of a priority than right-back at the moment, given the current options in our squad. And I agree to an extent. It's with a big drop-off on Varane and Martinez. I do think Timber's very good because he ticks those two boxes. What Jeremie Timber offers is if Man United don't get that centre back in, they've got that centre back and right back. Jeremie Timber can fill centre back and he can fill right back for United, and he can also help our build up issues. So there's always the question of, do we prioritise Jeremie Timber over him? The way I see it is Maguire should go for 25 million, Wan-Bissaka should go for 20 million. That's 45 million. It will probably cost 60 million to get Frimpong and Timber, but I think you sign both of them. I think then you sell McTominay and you get a Casemiro understudy. And then you sell your Dean Henderson and potentially see if you could get a David Raya with that kind of money. And then you put your remaining budget on Harry Kane or Ostenham or whatever striker Ten Hag wants to sign, which I believe is Harry Kane. And then you put the remaining budget on a number 8. For me, United need a number 8, a backup for Casemiro, a striker, a centre-back, a right-back, and potentially a goalkeeper. But I think the priority is number 8 and striker, followed by Casemiro backup, followed by those defensive reinforcements. But it is argued, would you say centre-back or right-back's a bigger priority? Dalot's been poor recently. However, Dalot was very good at the start of the season. There is someone in there in Dalot. Wan-Bissaka's been good lately, and Wan-Bissaka and Dalot are two solid options at fullbacks. However, they do have their weaknesses. There's loads of different ways you can look at it. I think, centre-back, if Varane gets injured, it's Maguire. We know what you get with Maguire. Again, Lindelof, decent player, but nothing more than a bench player. I do think if you get a centre back like Kim Min-jae or Timber in, it really does push the back line of Manchester United as well. The contract renewals are worrying me. It's signed. The Glazers are staying. New contracts, less business in the summer. I don't think it is. I think these are just routine contract renewals. You want to get Luke Shaw and Rashford on a new contract because they're important to Ten Hag, and Ten Hag's going to be here next season, even if the Glazers aren't. So you agree that because Ten Hag's the one that ultimately has to say on who should get contracts or not. I still see Casado as possible. He has depth to DM and can play next to Casemiro. Casado would be honestly an ideal target for me because although he doesn't not 100% the creative type we need to play next to Casemiro, he can do that job, but he's a good Casemiro backup. The problem is, I think that Brighton would be selling him because Brighton's a selling club, but I think we'd have to massively overpay for him because he signed that new deal at Brighton. He's a United fan. He did want to leave Brighton, but he got that new contract at Brighton. I don't see him going in the summer, but I do think Moises Caicedo fits a lot of United's issues, and I think Moises Caicedo, again, does tick that solid midfield issue box. Whether I think we'll get him, I think it's possible, but I think we'd massively have to overpay to get Moises Caicedo. If we get QATAR in, potentially that's the case. Barca will reportedly having problems registering Xavi regarding his new contract with the club. I reckon they'll be willing to sell De Jong to reduce the wage bill. Potentially, I think Gavi is weirdly would be more valuable to Barcelona than De Jong. But we know that they prefer Gavi and Pedri to the likes of De Jong as well. Shaw doesn't deserve a 4-year contract. Well, based off that Newcastle performance, no. But before that Newcastle performance, he had been brilliant as well. Player like Bruno Guimaraes would suit United 100%, but don't see him being sold to us. I do want to get into the takeover news because some interesting news came out today. And I thought this was a really good point by Jamie Jackson, which might give QATAR a slight advantage over Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So regarding the sale news, we did get a big update on the sale today, and I want to dive into that. It was said with the cost of borrowing risk rising, any offer involving debt is becoming more and more expensive. And if this makes Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid for United more conservative, the Glazers may not get the bidding or they hoped for, which could argue their demands were not, where they could argue their demands were not met. So basically, what this is saying is, because Manchester United are $1 billion in debt, because United owed 200 million back by June 2023, and because interest rates are rising, the amount of cost to borrow money is rising, banks are wanting the money back, etc., etc., etc. It means that it's going to be more and more difficult for Jim Ratcliffe to really up his bid more and more because it will cost him more and more to borrow this money, and that could put United in more financial implications, which means that Sheikh Jassim could have a clear advantage over Sir Jim Ratcliffe to buy United because Sheikh Jassim doesn't need to borrow money. He can buy the club, he can clear the debt, bish, bash, bosh. But the Glazers then know that if Sir Jim Ratcliffe can't bid over this certain amount, they don't have a bidding war. The Glazers want someone to push the QATAR price up because if Sir Jim Ratcliffe bids 5 billion, QATAR will bid 5.1 billion and buy the club. But the Glazers want Sir Jim Ratcliffe to bid 5.7. The Glazers want Sir Jim Ratcliffe to bid 6 billion, so QATAR will bid 6.1 billion by the club. If the highest Jim Ratcliffe is willing to go is 5 billion, then the Glazers aren't going to do that 6 billion price tag. But if the highest Jim Ratcliffe is willing to go is 5.7, 5.8 billion, then the QATAR do push that 6 billion price tag. And the Glazers know that QATAR have the most money, and QATAR will pay what it takes to get United. But the Glazers know QATAR aren't stupid businessmen. The Glazers know that QATAR are smart. And QATAR are only going to outbid Jim Ratcliffe. They're not going to pay 6 billion if Jim Ratcliffe's only offering 5 billion. They're not going to outbid him by $1 billion. So the Glazers are looking at this like shit because of the debt, because of the money it costs to debt. Sir Jim Ratcliffe might not be able to raise his bid a lot more, which means QATAR aren't going to raise their bid too much more if they know Sir Jim Ratcliffe can't, because why would QATAR bid $1 billion more than everyone else to buy the club? So the Glazers are trying to use that to scare Sheikh Jassim into upping his bid. Because if Sheikh Jassim knows now that he's got a clear advantage over Sir Jim Ratcliffe because of the debt and he won't require debt, the Glazers now want Sheikh Jassim to put a higher bid in. So they're going to start saying things like, oh, if his bid's not high enough, we're going to stay. La-di-la-di-la-di-la-di-la. That's what they're going to say to try and scare Sheikh Jassim into putting a higher bid. But at the end of the day, you look at the financial crisis at United, you look at what's going on at United, there's no way the Glazers can turn down 5.5 billion from QATAR. The Glazers cannot afford to turn down 5.5 billion from QATAR, whether they like it or not. The sale news is like the Frankie de Jong saga. The Glazers' greed is dragging this process so long, and new owners want to get the show on the road. This would impact the summer transfer window. You're absolutely spot on, football fanatics. Manchester United sale drama is dragging on and on and on. Qatar bid is the strongest. The Glazers are dragging this process on, as you said, because they want more and more money. The Glazers want more money. So Jim Ratcliffe might not be able to up his bid. Qatar will be able to up their bid, but Qatar won't bid what the Glazers want if no one else is getting close to that bid, because why would Qatar bid $1 billion over? The Glazers are delaying the process because they want more and more money out of Qatar. It's very likely that this week they announced they're going into a third round of bidding because they are desperate to get as much money out of Qatar as possible. That is the problem. So the sale process, yes, it's being delayed because the Glazers want to make as much money as possible. They want to make as much profit as possible out of United. And the more this process is delayed, the longer it takes, which means the less time you have in the summer transfer window to back Ten Hag. Now, we know Ten Hag wants a striker, we know Ten Hag wants an 8, and we know Ten Hag wants a right back. And we know that Qatar are most likely to be the new owners, but we don't know when the new owners will be. And we don't know if 100% we are getting new owners. We don't know what the Glazers are going to do. But the process is very much being dragged out because the Glazers know if they drag out this deal, the longer it takes, the more bidding wars they have, the more money they can get out of Qatar. Because the Glazers know Qatar could pay $10 billion if they wanted. They know they've set up the 9-2 Foundation. They know they're determined to buy United. They know they can outbid Jim Ratcliffe. They know they can pay crazy money. So if the Glazers know Qatar are capable of playing crazy money, they want them to play crazy money. So they're delaying the takeover process. They're doing what they can with the takeover process to try and get the highest bid possible out of Qatar. And that's what I don't like about it. It's all Glazer games, and I absolutely don't like that one bit as well. Alex said the debt is approaching dangerous levels, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe could potentially add even more. Without Qatar, another global crisis could put us in huge trouble. Exactly. And looking at the situation going on at United and looking at the problems, it's basically been said that because, United can't afford to get into any more debt, which would give, Sheikh Jassim a big advantage. Sheikh Jassim needs to buy United. He wants to buy United, but the process is being delayed by the Glazers as well. 200 million has got to be cleared already, plus 1 billion, plus stadium is approximately 2.5 billion debt. How can the Glazers stay? The longer and longer the Glazers stay, the more and more trouble we're in. And we could be getting transfer bans. We could be getting in financial trouble if the Glazers stay, which is more and more reason why they need to leave. Greedy feeding parasites, leeches, Glazers stole our money and bankrupted the club, says Jonathan. Absolutely stealing the money as well. And I think it's so unpredictable, this relegation battle, but I think Leeds will get relegated, says Daniel. I do think the relegation battle is interesting as well. No more Frankie de Jong transfer news. Well, I won't get into the Frankie de Jong transfer news. And Qataris have the money, but only give what the club is worth because they're smart businessmen. They don't want to be overpaying. And I don't blame Qatar. If you're Qatar and you look at the Glazers' financial reports, you look at the financial reports of Manchester United, you go, well, the Glazers need to sell. I'd be stupid to give them 6 billion because they'd be stupid to turn down 5 billion. You look at the financial implications the Glazers are in. If you're Qatar, you're not going to give them the 6 billion they want because you know they won't need to pay it. They need the money ASAP, and you could play a little bit less. And if you're Qatar and you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe, you say fuck off to the Glazers about that 6 billion price tag because you've just seen that they need to sell. It's been confirmed the Glazers need to sell because they don't have the financial capacity to stay at United. They need the full sale. Why do you think the Glazers are extending the deadline bids for the full sale? Because the Glazers need to sell. It was also said as well, Manchester United suitors expected to hear back from the Rain Group this week to get clarity on the next step of the sale process. So if you want to know what's going on with the sale, clarity is meant to happen this week. And it said things are still largely on track despite the second bids of Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming on late. The quick second bid deadline meeting at Old Trafford has allowed for an extra stage of bidding if needed without altering the timescale significantly. So what Ben Jacobs continues up by saying is he's saying when Qatar and Sir Jim Ratcliffe had their meeting with obviously the Rain Group, they said potentially there could be a third round of bidding, but if there is a third round of bidding, we won't let it delay the timescale because we know that you want to be the new owners of Manchester United soon, so you can get ahead with planning with your transfer window. Simon Stone did say the outcome of the season will have no impact on the interest of potential buyers, and neither Sheikh Jassim nor Ineos would walk away from the deal if United miss out on the Champions League. So despite United's drop in form, it's not going to affect how much Sheikh Jassim or Sir Jim Ratcliffe want United. And the BBC has been told that Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe both view the potential purchase as a long-term adventure and would not be swayed by Manchester United's recent dip in form. They're still very much interested in the club. And Jamie Jackson said the bidders for Manchester United hope to receive a response to their latest offers this week, and at least one potential buyer of Manchester United fears that the Glazers will ultimately cite in the banking crisis as a reason of not selling the club, and that is Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is starting to fear because of the banking crisis, because he's got to borrow money to buy United, that all of a sudden the Glazers might not sell to him and they might sell to Qatar because of that, and that is a fear reportedly of Sir Jim Ratcliffe to take into account as well. Guys, please do smash that like button and, of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest news, transfer news, updates and more, Alice Talks Football is, of course, the place to be as well. Renovate Old Trafford equals more debt, but if the Qatar come in, they clear the debt, they pay that $2 billion off, they renovate Old Trafford, we're in zero debt, bish bash bosh. If Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in, we're in more debt, we don't have the money to do things till we clear the debt. That is the problem as well. Priority has to be getting back on track and finishing this strong season. Back in Europa would hinder Ten Hag's development plans 100%. The priority right now needs to be finish in the top 4, get those new owners sorted, get the transfer window done, bish bash bosh. If we don't finish in top 4, it's not the end of the world. We didn't expect to finish in top 4 at the beginning of the season when we lost to Brighton, we lost to Brentford. But where we have been playing, we do deserve to finish in the top 4. The thing is, if we don't finish in the top 4, it's going to hinder the development, as Alex said. Ten Hag wants Kane. But if Spurs get 4th and we don't get Kane. Let's be honest. Ten Hag wants Frankie de Jong. We get Champions League, we don't get Frankie de Jong. Yes, we might get Frimpong, but do we get that box-to-box midfielder on? Do we get Osimhen if we don't get Champions League? You know, that's another thing. We've got all these targets. We know what Ten Hag wants to do in the summer, but we need, obviously, Champions League football to make sure that we can attain these targets as well. Alice, do you think a deal is already done? No, but I think a deal is close to being done. I do think in the next week we'll have really strong indications of who's going to be the next owners of United. I think either it's going to go into a 3rd round of bidding, or Qatar, Sir Jim, Elliott Group, whoever it is going to be picked as a preferred bidder to go into the final round as well. But guys, please smash the like button. Of course, subscribe down below as well. None of the bidders will pay 7 billion. Glazers 6 billion plus 1 billion debt. There's about 2 billion debt when you add up all the debt, all the interest that needs to be paid, all the problems. You know, whoever buys United's got to spend another 2.5 billion to clear the debt and renovate the stadium. Whoever buys United's got to pay that kind of money, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe can't do that, which puts Qatar in a very strong position. We've got more news coming in on the takeover. Remember, guys, it was said no immediate end to the Manchester United sale process is expected. The Rain Group's next response to offers could range from cutting the process to a sole bidder, limiting it to 2, or extending the time frame. So it said right now we don't know what's going on with the sale. They're basically saying in this week we're going to find out if the Glazers are going to turn it to one sole bidder, and that would be a preferred bidder, and that would probably be the next owners of United. We're going to find out if the Glazers may be limited to 2 bidders that have got to go 1-on-1 to buy United, or if the Glazers are going to extend the time frame because they're greedy and they want to make even more money. No, I don't think we're in a position where we can extend the time frame because the summer's coming around quick. Ten Hag wants backing and signings quick, but while I think we're not in a position to extend the time frame, that doesn't matter to the Glazers. The Glazers are thinking about how they're going to get as much money as possible for United. That could be done by extending the time frame, which is the worry of what the Glazers are going to do. And obviously, as it was said, with the cost of borrowing money, any offer involving debt is becoming more expensive. And if this makes Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid for United more conservative, the Glazers may not get the bidding war they wanted. So it's also said that the Glazers want a bidding war because they want to drive the price up. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe might not be able to do a bidding war with Qatar. So that is what you need to know on the sale process as well. 146 likes, guys, so halfway to the 300 like target. We've got nearly 500 people watching, so do smash the likes. I'm just taking a quick sip of water. Leon says Qatar in as well, and Daniel says like, subscribe and share. Just scrolling down the chat as well. This is crazy. The investors need to be mad to be spending more than 10 billion on a club just adds billions to make successful bid. Ludicrously stupid. I mean, whoever buys United is massively overpaying and paying a stupid amount of money, but that is the Glazers. They know that people want United. They know it's a football club. They know they're in demand. They know it's the Premier League. They know it's United. The Glazers are greedy parasites, and all they care about is their pockets. All they care about is how much money they make. And unfortunately, the Glazers are willing to put United on the line to do that. Unfortunately, the way the Glazers look at it, it's like, you know what? Let's just sell Manchester United. Let's, put this price tag of United so unreasonably high that, if we sell United, we get the money we want. And that is the big problem with the Glazers as well. Daniel said Qatar needs to come soon. And I agree. And hopefully they do come soon as well. Let me just make sure there's no breaking news coming out before I get into the next story, which is about the ins and outs. The Glazers have communicated it's business as usual at Manchester United as ownership talks progress. It's just been said by The Athletic. Have they said anything else as well? Luke Shaw obviously signed a new contract deal. And obviously next week there will be a meeting between United and Facundo Pellestri's agent. The club have already let him know that they want him to extend his contract. The meeting will delve into issues of money and duration of contract and potentially a loan. And obviously the news on Jeremie Frimpong that came out earlier. If you just joined the live stream, you want the Frimpong news, scroll down to the beginning of the video. If not, we're talking about the takeover. And it's been said the Glazers have communicated it's business as usual as Manchester United ownership talks progress. So although it's gone very quiet regarding to talks and ownership, stuff is happening. business is happening. There's not overly worrying amounts of things to be worried about as well. So I do think that the process of the sale will move soon as well. I do think the process of the sale will move soon. I do think things will happen soon. I think the Glazers are just delaying as much as they can. We want to talk about David De Gea in just a second. We want to talk about some other things in just a second, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But I do want to touch upon the Jadon Sancho topic, people that Ten Hag is looking to sell, etc. as well. Evo says, getting sick of hearing about sales. Is no one out there has a clue what's going on? Sale news is just clickbait now. I mean, potentially that could be the case. I mean, the media are telling us stuff about sales, but the media are always contradicting us. 1 minute the media is saying Qatar's the favourite, the next minute the media is saying the Glazers don't want to sell the club. The problem with the Manchester United sale is it's like all the transfers. We know that United want to sell the club. We know the club is for sale, and we know that the Glazers are probably most likely to leave rather than stay, according to the news coming out. But we don't know what's going to happen. It's very much like De Jong all over again. Media journalists are basically clickbaiting us left, right, and centre, or being fed stories by the Glazers as part of their PR to get more money from the club. And we're getting told one story 1 minute, another story the other minute regarding the sale process. And the whole sale process of United has massively dragged on. And it's boring now. I'm with you guys. It's boring. The takeover is boring. The sale is boring. This, that. Yeah, I can't be bothered with it anymore. I want United to just crack on with the season. I want the sale to be done so we can crack on with the signings. And unfortunately, the sale process has been going on for ages, and the Glazers might be putting another bid in. And we have news coming out left, right, and centre on the sale process. But as I said, we don't know. We don't know what's going on. The journalists say that this is happening and this is happening, but they contradict themselves. The journalists might not know what's going on. We can come to conclusions that the aim is the full sale from the way that the Glazers have been acting and what we've been told from the Rain Group. The Glazers are more likely to full sale than do a minority stake. And we could use, general common sense to guess that, Qatar are the favourites to be the next owners of United because they have more money than Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and they won't need to put us in debt. They won't need to borrow any money to buy United. But as said, I don't know how much the journalists do know. I don't know if they know crazy amounts. I think Mike Keegan knows stuff, but I think a lot of other journalists maybe say the odd clickbait story here and there for interaction as well. Ten Hag said he didn't sign a new 4-year deal. Ten Hag hasn't signed a new deal at United, but he'd be interested in signing a new 3-year deal at United, is what was said. De Gea needs a new contract. I personally disagree. I mean, let me know in the chat what you do with De Gea. Would you keep him? Would you sell him? I like De Gea, but I do think long term we need to replace De Gea as well. I think myself, if the Glazers keeping messing about they should be fine for big money. I mean, the Glazers have been offered big money. The Glazers have been offered a world record bid for United, but you don't know if that's going to be enough for the Glazers. The Glazers are incredibly greedy parasites. So although you give the Glazers a good offer here, and although you give the Glazers a good offer there, they're absolute parasites. We don't know what their intentions are with Manchester United at all in the slightest. We do have news about Ten Hag, what Ten Hag's intentions are, etc. La. What is that? Sorry, I just got a notification from bloody YouTube. Don't know why they just popped through there. But we have what? I just forgot what she was going to talk about. So basically, we spoke about this in my video earlier. Not many people watched my video earlier, so do watch my video earlier. Got a lot less views than normal because in my video earlier we spoke about the debt crisis going on, the financial crisis going on at Manchester United, and how that could potentially impact Manchester United's summer transfer window. Now this is bad because basically Manchester United might have to sell to buy. Okay, because the Glazers have put us in so much debt, because the Glazers are going to have to pay off 200 million by June 23rd. United could potentially be in a position where they need to sell to buy. Now, the positive of that, the good news regarding that, the positive of that is, they'll probably have to sell the club. Will the Glazers be able to come up with 200 million before June 30th? Probably not, unless they sell the club, unless they get that money in from investors. So, the real positive coming out with the news, etc., is that the Glazers might have to sell the club. That is the real positive, because they don't have the money to stay at the club as well. A lot of people saying keep De Gea, a lot of people saying sell. I think the Glazers are paying the bidders, which is dodgy after what death the Glazers put the club in. Glazers are playing with bidders. I thought you said paying. I misread that. I think Glazers are playing with bidders. The Glazers want to get as much money as possible, so of course they're going to be playing with the bidders of United. What they want to get as much money as possible. The Glazers don't want a minority stake. All these stories that the Glazers aren't interested in selling, they just want minority investment. They're using the full sale to flush out minority investment, la-di-la-di-la. No, the actual truth is the Glazers want minority investment. The actual truth is Glazers need minority investment. That is the actual truth. The Glazers want, the Glazers need, the Glazers are looking for a minority, not minority, are looking for a full investment in United. You know, I don't know why I'm falling asleep today. It's always Mondays. It's always my Monday live streams where I fall asleep. Absolutely messed that up. Absolutely messed that up. She's waffling. The report is, and the Glazers try and claim they're only interested in minority investment. The Glazers are using their PR and media to say that they're not interested in the full sale. They're using the full sale to flush out the minority investment they want. However, we know that's not true because the Rain Group and people close to the Glazers came in with inside information and said the Glazers want the full sale because the Glazers know for financial reasons they need the full sale. They're using this minority investment as a transfer negotiation tactic to try and get more money for the full sale because they're going to try and scare Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Qatar into bidding as much money as possible to get the club and getting as close to the 6 billion unrealistic price tag as possible, because then if they don't get close to that 6 billion price tag, they can continually threat, oh, if you're not going to pay this, if you're not going to pay this, I might as well not sell the club. It's all a game from the Glazers, but they do want to sell the club. They do need to sell the club for financial issues, and that is the case, and that is the situation ongoing with United as well. The Glazers put the club in debt, not death, but the Glazers are killing the club. The debt is getting to ridiculous amounts. This debt is getting to. Do you know why? Do you know why it's getting to crazy amounts? Because the Glazers, they owe 200 million by June 30th. Are they going to pay that unless they sell a lot of players? Maybe. They can't afford to stay. De Gea is not top priority to address, in my opinion. I don't see the perfect replacement candidate, and he's making great saves every match. I mean, for me, I still think we need a midfielder and a striker before a goalkeeper, but I do think long term I'd replace De Gea, but I can do with De Gea with another season. I'm not one of those people that hates De Gea and blames him for everything. I do think some of our fans overreact as well. And is it round 3 or not? Potentially could be going into round 3. So we just see if any more news has come out before I get into the next stories, because we've got lots of stories to get into. We've got lots of transfer news to get into. Lots of sort of stuff is happening at the moment surrounding United as well. Premier League players admitting they target De Gea's goal because he's not good with his feet. That's the story going around today as well. Apparently the Glazers have communicated it's business as usual at the club as ownership talks progress. But I don't think that's the case as well. Obviously, we know that Potter's been sacked, Conte's been sacked. A lot of stuff is going on regarding that news as well. But I want to get into some more sale news as well. So I want to get into a story about Ten Hag selling Sancho, which we'll probably touch upon in a video. So we'll get into this here. It was said new Erik Ten Hag is coming in presently impatient with Jadon Sancho. It said that Erik Ten Hag is frustrated with Sancho. He felt, obviously Ten Hag gave Sancho a lot of time and that Sancho hasn't impressed him. Now, I disagree with this. I think Sancho hasn't been impressive this season. I'd expect more from Jadon Sancho. The player was at Dortmund for £72 million. I'd expected and I was hoping to see a lot more from Jadon Sancho. And I think that would be the case with a lot of you guys watching here. I wanted to see more from Sancho. I expected to see more than Sancho. I haven't been impressed with Sancho. However, Sancho's had a tough time. He's had a period out. And since he's had that period out, Ten Hag's not giving him 90 minutes here and there. Ten Hag's dabbling him in and out. Anthony's still the first choice. Weghorst is getting 90 minutes, left, right, and centre. Sancho can't. And yes, Sancho's had some games where he's been poor, and yes, Sancho's had some games where he's been good. But if you actually analyse the minutes Sancho's had since he's come back from some of his off-the-field issues, he was very good versus Leeds, scored a goal. Very good versus Leicester, scored a goal. Sancho has been contributing. I mean, he looks decent. I mean, some games he's useless. Some games he looks decent. But for me, I think that Ten Hag needs to give Sancho a run out of multiple games for 90 minutes before he makes his decision. I think it would be completely unfair and unjustified for Ten Hag to make his decision on Jadon Sancho this summer when he's barely played. I think next season you bring in Frimpongs, you put Sancho on the right or Anthony on the right, and you consistently play them. We'll get the best out of Sancho. Pre-season, Sancho was fantastic. We've seen he's gone through issues, he's lost confidence, etc., etc., etc. But if Sancho on the right, Rashford on the left, and Martial up top, I think, and we had a good midfield that was getting the ball to them with Casemiro and Fred in. Let's see, because Sancho's been in a position where he's joined United, not got loads of minutes, weirdly. We're saying he's bad, but actually he's not really been given much of a chance this season. My one criticism of Ten Hag is Weghorst is getting minutes left, right, and centre. You're not playing Sancho that much. And for me, I think that Sancho hasn't been good enough. And for me, if he's like this next season, we need to let him go. We need to sell him. But I want to see Sancho get a few more minutes under his belt. And I believe that once the squad is complete, and I've said this with Anthony, if we play Sancho with a top striker and Marcus Rashford in a top right back, I think you get the best out of Sancho. You don't go from being really good to shit. Marcus Rashford was terrible last season. Marcus Rashford was absolutely crap last season. But you don't go from being good to shit. When Marcus Rashford was crap. Now remember this. A lot of people last season were going Trashford, get him out. If you watched my channel last season, I never called him Rashford. I never said get out. I always said I'm worried about Rashford. Every single video I did last season on Rashford was poor. I said, oh my God, what's going on with this guy? I'm worried something's got to be going on. Because you don't go from a good player to a crap player like that. It's about form, it's about confidence, it's about systems, it's about a lot more than that. And Jadon Sancho is a very good player. Jadon Sancho is a very talented player, and Jadon Sancho was a very special player at Dortmund. There's a reason we were so excited when we signed him. There's a reason we paid a lot of money for him, and he's not shown that United. But just because he hasn't shown it yet doesn't mean he will never show it. He's still got it in him. Sancho for me is like Rashford of last season. Rashford last season was crap, but I never said Rashford. I never said sell him because I said you don't get that bad for no reason when you were that good. And we saw how good Sancho's been at his best, and we've seen how poor he's been at his worst. There is that Sancho of his best still in there. Now, you could say, oh, but look at Dele Alli. And yeah, look at Dele Alli. And if Sancho wants to get back to his best, yes, Ten Hag might need to give him more opportunities. Yes, the players around him need to be better. But it will come down to Sancho. Sancho, there's rumours that Sancho's lazy and doesn't try and too scared to take on his man. And that's something he needs to improve. Sancho needs to, do what Rashford did in the summer. Rashford in the summer went, you know what, I'm doing an intense training course. I'm doing extra training. I'm getting up early. I'm doing this and doing that. I'm going to prove myself. Sancho needs to take some initiative, and he needs to work incredibly hard to impress Ten Hag. Because you know what? Ten Hag will give him a chance if he works hard. No laziness. He needs to work hard to impress Ten Hag. He needs to take risks. And, hopefully with that, he will get confidence. If he starts taking risks and they start paying off, he gets confidence. If he scores a few goals, he gets confidence. If he gets confidence, if he starts playing well when he gets a run of games, that's how you get Sancho to his best. Because I'm not ready to give up on Jadon Sancho. I'm not ready one bit to give up on Jadon Sancho. I think he's a fantastic player. I don't think you go from being good to shit like that. And I think Jadon Sancho is one of those players. For me, I will sit there and say, give him more time. Let's see what Sancho has with the opportunity. But for me, 100% Sancho needs more time. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on that as well. He was crap last season. He hasn't been good this season. He has had issues off the pitch. I do agree with that. But I still think Sancho deserves more time as well. Greedy, thieving, parasite, leeches, glazes, stole money and bankrupted the club as well. I like Sancho, but Erik Ten Hag repeatedly said chances have to be earned. Clearly something Erik Ten Hag is not keen with Sancho. I feel like Sancho deserves more of a chance, but I worry that maybe in training, the rumours are true that Sancho doesn't pull his weight in training. Sancho hasn't done this or that in training. I do maybe wonder or worry that those rumours are true about Sancho not being good in training. So that's really the only real example I can think of right now. Is Sancho lacking something in training? Is he not doing something in training? Because yes, chances need to be earned. Yes, Sancho hasn't been fantastic, but I think Sancho deserves a bit more of a run out than he gets. I think it'll be interesting now with Martial back, whether Martial's actually back for more than a game. I think Martial will probably be back for a game max and get injured. Whether, with Martial back, we get Sancho back in and Sancho starts playing more la-di-la-di-la. It'll be interesting to see where that goes as well. Sancho's awful, can't beat a man. Garnacho, Palestra and Ahmad all above him in my book, says World Peace. And that's what a lot of people are saying. For me, Sancho's got one more year. He's got to prove himself. I saw Sancho at his best. I believe there's a quality player in there. But Sancho is being paid serious money. We paid a lot of money for him. And Palestra, Garnacho and Ahmad have shown more fight than him as well. But Alice is a fan of Sancho. She'll not see he's not going to make the cut. He's CBA with the defensive work. Scoring goals doesn't mean he had a good game. I think he's been all right, but he needs to improve. I think there is a little bit of laziness there, and he needs to improve. And I will say that. But I've backed Rashford. I've backed Sancho. There's certain players that when they're so good for one season, then so shit for another season, I go, well, I know what they were like when they were good. You either end up a Dele Alli or you end up a Rashford. Rashford was crap. He redeemed himself. Rashford was fucking horrific last season. Honestly, one of our worst players redeemed himself. Sancho, is he going to go down the Dele Alli path or is he going to go down the Rashford path? And to go down the Rashford path, you've got to put the work in. He's got to work hard. He's got to start tracking back. He's got to start putting more effort in training because that's how he'll get his chances. But it was an interesting thing is here because I want to talk about something else that relates to this Sancho stuff. And I've got a bit more news to get into. It was actually said here. Interesting news, but it said Anthony Elanga and Facundo Palestra have been penciled in for loan moves next term amid the possibility that Erik Ten Hag accommodates Ahmad once his season on loan at Sunderland ends. Now, United, this relates to Sancho because Anthony is the first choice right winger. Other people that can play on the right wing is Elanga, who's going out on loan. Elanga's not wanted, but after Anthony, Sancho's got to compete with Palestra and Amad Diallo. Right now, Ten Hag might start to favour Palestra and Amad Diallo over Sancho if Sancho doesn't up it. So let's say, Anthony starts and then he brings back Amad Diallo, Palestra and Elanga go out on loan. But Amad Diallo could be taking that Sancho spot. It could be Rashford's the main left wing, Sancho's the backup left wing. Anthony's the main right wing, Amad Diallo becomes the backup right wing. whoever we sign as the main striker, Martial's the backup striker. Now that is a good front three option. If you've got Sancho and Rashford that can play on the left, if you've got Osimhen and Martial at striker, and you've got Anthony and Amad Diallo at right wing, they are good options. But again, we're hearing that Ten Hag likes Facundo Pellistri, likes Amad Diallo. They could potentially be players that come in over Sancho as well. I don't want to talk about Mason Greenwood coming back, but if Mason Greenwood does come back, let's say, not saying that he is, but I think he will come back in the summer. Not saying that he'll play again. I think he'll come back in the summer, and I think he'll be sold. That's what I think will happen. But because United don't want to lose all that money of having to pay his 8 million wages and let someone else pick him up for free and him score goals against us, I think United will bring Greenwood back in the summer and sell him. I don't think he'll play again. But let's say we do bring Greenwood back. That's another person in that position. Striker we need is Højlund, Ramos, or Victor Osimhen. We will talk about that in a minute as well. Anthony does not defend as much as he should. I disagree. I think Anthony, out of all our wingers, he tracks back more than Rashford, he tracks back more than Sancho. And as soon as Anthony came up, we can see the goal versus Newcastle. I think he really helped out Delo as well. But yeah, I mean, look, we've got a lot of good youngsters as well. Get the G's out, Greenwood out, Grace is out, says Fatty. Big up Fatty. Smash the like button, guys. Do subscribe as well. Sancho could compete for the 10 role. I mean, what we'll do is actually, this is the thing with Sancho. I'm going to do this quickly here. 4-2-3-1, 4-2. So the thing about Sancho is he instantly becomes our backup here. So let's say next season, we sign a few players. So let's say we do sign Kane. And Weghorst will obviously not. We'd be fucking stupid to keep Weghorst after so. But let's say we do sign Kane, and Martial becomes backup, Mr. Breadstick Legs, and then I guess that Rashford would be the other backup because probably Martial will be unreliable. So if Rashford is the other backup, obviously Sancho gets an opportunity on the left wing. We've obviously got Rashford here, Rashford, and then Rashford's backup is Garnacho, and then Sancho. But as you can see, Sancho is becoming the second choice backup because the problem with Sancho is he's becoming the second choice backup, not the first choice. I feel like Eriksen might still be the first choice backup for Bruno, followed by Sancho. Garnacho might be the first choice backup for Rashford. And then here, if we've got Anthony's obviously the first choice, it could be Amad and then Sancho, because Ten Hag's taken a liking to Amad, who would very much suit his system, being left-footed as well. And Ten Hag, likes a left-footed right winger. He likes his wingers inverted. So this is the problem. Let's say we sign Kane. Because that's what United want to do. Not, you can argue Kane, Osimhen, Gonzalo Ramos, Højbjerg, whoever we want. Let's say we sign Kane just for this. So then Martial's back up for Kane with probably Rashford because he can play striker. Garnacho's back up for Rashford, and Amad Diallo comes back up for Anthony, and Eriksen becomes back up for Bruno because we signed a midfielder, so Eriksen then goes more advanced. Then yeah, you do argue like Sancho is this third backup for a player that we're paying 300 grand a week to. Should he be the third backup? We need to sign someone. Signings. We need backup. I'm gonna put need backup here. We're not even looking at a Casemiro backup, and that for me is the biggest worry. But we're probably going to sign an 8. So we're just going to say Lafy here. Not saying that we're going to sign Lafy, but we're going to sign an 8. Well, no, we'll put Kone in because we've been linked to him a bit. We'll put Kone in here because we've been linked to a bit. And then here we've got Fred/Eriksen. So Eriksen again, potentially his position could be deep, higher up the pitch. But you look at that there, and look, that's a decentish side. Personally, I'd want someone better than Kone. And for me, this would be the dream. I mean, I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but for me, this would be the dream. Casado in here, and obviously, freaking. Not saying this is going to happen, but I mean, this would be the dream. But it's not going to happen. You're not going to get both Casado and De Jong. We'll go. Correct. Spelt that wrong, haven't I? Who gives, well, actually, no, we know what? We'll go with Nunes. I feel like this is more realistic. So let's say this is the squad. This is a very good squad. So what do Man United need next? Well, I think we need Frimpong. And sadly, it's going to be Wan-Bissaka that's leading them, according to the news, and not Delo. So sadly, it's going to be Wan-Bissaka leading. I think that you've got Varane here. And I think what we need for Varane is Timber as backup. We've got Martinez, we'll just say Leacher because it's shorter, and then we've got Lindelof here. It's Lindelof to Shaw as backup. Lindelof to Shaw. You've got Shaw here, and you've got Malacia as backup. Technically, Leacher can also play left back, but technically Fred can also play left back. And I guess you've then got Delo/Timber. And I do think this is what I've been saying. If a United did this in the transfer window, they'd be in a good position. But where's Sancho? You know, would Ten Hag be okay to sell Sancho? Because Sancho's not someone that he's probably third choice right wing and third choice left wing and third choice 10. No, I think he should be second choice right wing, but Ten Hag, Amad Diallo is more of a Ten Hag like player. So what I'm trying to show you by this is what United could potentially look like next season. Now for me, we need to sign a striker. We need to sign a Casemiro backup. We need to sign a ball carrying number 8 player. We need to sign a right back. We need to sign a centre back. They're the 5 signings we need to make, and potentially a goalkeeper. And I think next season, if we do this, we're in a very good position. But to do this, we're going to need new investment from owners. I'm not saying that we are going to do this, but this is how United could potentially look. Because basically, Samuel Luckers did big reports saying that Kane is the first choice, a number 8 is the second choice, and a right back and potentially centre back is the third choice. So let's say we get a right back, centre back, Kane, and midfielder in. This is how United could line up next season. And there's a lot of players that, I don't know the role they've got as well. Rashford's never run back to defend. Rashford needs to. Rashford was lazy the other day. Guys, please do smash that like button. Can we get 250 likes by the end of the live stream? Do smash that like button if you have not already. Sancho was very expensive to be a backup, such a rotation option. Younger, even youth options getting in a lot ahead of him. And this is the thing. This is the question. Would it be plausible for Ten Hag to sell Sancho? Should we do a poll? Because I do still think if we sold Sancho, we could get around 50 million. I think you'd get 45 million for James Sancho. I think you would. Actually, considering didn't Everton pay 40 million for Iwobi? I swear Everton paid 40 million for Iwobi. I still think you could get 50 million for Sancho. Would you sell Sancho for 50 mil? That's what I'm going to ask you in the chat, okay? I'm going to ask you, I've just written a poll in the chat. Would you sell Sancho for 50 million? And also, I'm going to ask you, how much is Sancho worth? You can't do a poll on that. But also respond to my other comment. How much is Sancho worth? I'll put that in the chat for you because I'm generally interested as well. Van der Beek is number 10 backup. I think Van der Beek will be out in the summer. Anthony needs to improve his right foot. I agree. Alice is so beautiful today. Thank you. Weghorst needs to go. I agree. Wan-Bissaka better than Delo. I think this season he has been, but Ten Hag, I'm going with what Ten Hag wants, not what I want. I prefer Osimhen to Kane. Ten Hag prefers, Kane to Osimhen. I prefer Wan-Bissaka to Delo. Ten Hag prefers Delo to Wan-Bissaka. I'm doing what there. Chris says Nunes is a downgrade to Eriksen. If Man United want to be the best, they need much better signings. We need fucking De Jong, but I don't think we'll get him. Timber won't suit us. We need someone more like Tomorrow, Kim and Jay. Timber will suit us, but I do think Kim and Jay as well. Neves, Tielemans, Kakare, Sangare, Bellingham are all good options. Bellingham is class, but for the money Bellingham costs, he doesn't solve our issues. He's not quite that number 8 as well. And as I said, Jaden too expensive to be a thing. Enzo Lafee as well. It could be a good fee. He could be 20 million as well. Dortmund would take him. Eric Ten Hag could sell Sancho. He's talented, but I'm not convinced he's a Ten Hag player. I do think if you could get 50 mil for Sancho, you guys saying 70 to 80, 70 to 80, 75, 60, 60. I'm actually going to tweet this. Let's go on to Twitter. So that is the concept, but let's go on to Twitter. If Ten Hag sold Jadon Sancho this summer, how much do you reckon? Is that how you spell reckon? Man United will get for him. Alright, is that how you spell reckon? I feel like that's not right. Reckon. I feel like that's not a word. Maybe it is. But like that, we'll ask the Twitter as well, because really thinking of it, I don't know, because we paid 72 million for him, and surely we can't make profit. As young as he is and as good as I think he is, if we pay, why is my computer frozen? Oh, for fuck's sake! Can you guys hear me? My computer is absolutely frozen. Can you guys hear me? No, you can't hear me. That's good. There we go. Oh, can you hear me? My computer absolutely froze. But anyway, as I was saying, how much do you think we could get for Sancho? Why is my computer so laggy today? Don't know. Dumb. But if Ten Hag sold Sancho this summer, how much do you reckon we could get? We will get for him. How much do you reckon Man United will get for him? Because he costs £72 million. Which is a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but he's still worth a lot. Is what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is I don't see us get £72 million, but I think we could at least get 50. I weirdly think we won't make profit on him, but I weirdly think we could, like Lukaku. I still think someone could pay 50 mil for him. I look at Iwobi going for what, 40 something mil. Surely with his age, his potential, surely he goes for 50 mil. Surely Sancho goes for 50 mil. Surely he goes for nearly 60. I'd slap a 6 million price tag on Jadon Sancho. Long contract, bags of potential. I'd slap 60 million on him if I was going to sell him. I still think he deserves more time. I like Sancho. But look, if Sancho raises 60 mil, Maguire raises 25 mil, McTominay raises 25 mil, that's 110 mil. Dean Henderson raises maybe 25 mil, that's 135 mil. Bayer gets you 5 at 140 mil. Williams, Jones, Tellez, although Deadwood get you maybe 10 million with Donny, 150 mil. Wan-Bissaka maybe 20 mil, 170 mil. We could, and Ten Hag set, it could raise, nearly 200 million in signings. And it's been said that Ten Hag wants to raise a lot of money in signings. I won't sell Sancho as Optimus. I mean, I don't want him to go, but, I'm just trying to think how much would he be worth as well. Ramos is a future flop. We can hear you. Okay, we can hear you. That's good. I was frozen. I was worried the thing cut out. But I actually want to get into another story before I end the live stream. And this story was about, Ten Hag is expected to sell a lot of players. Basically saying that Ten Hag's got a ruthless plan in the summer and he wants to sell a lot of players. Maguire, Bailly, Brandon, Williams, Tellez and Martial will all be made available in the summer. Apparently, Scott McTominay isn't quite in Manchester United's plans to be sold, which is an interesting one because he's young. And I think United need to get over this young. He's not young, he's 25. He's 25 years old. United need to get over this Scott McTominay academy player come through the academy. United apparently reluctant to sell Scott McTominay in the summer because he's come through the freaking academy and because he's our youngest midfielder. Donny's younger than Scott McTominay, actually. So Donny's technically our youngest midfielder if you want some technicality to it. And that really bugs me. We do need QATAR as well. Next season has to be make or break for Jadon. Given the fee and wages going into the third season, you have to make an impact. 100% agree. Keep Wan-Bissaka, sell Delo. I mean, I think I would do that, but Ten Hag doesn't. And McTominay is 26. Manchester United, there's a report today that came out that Manchester United have not planned the sale of McTominay as he's the youngest of their 4 senior midfielders. But he's shit. He's shit. Ten Hag knows he's shit. We could get 25 mil for him from Newcastle. He's not good enough. He's 26. It's not like he's 21. If he's 21, I say let's wait out on McTominay. He's 26. He's played 200 games. He's had enough chances at United. He's not been good enough. Whenever he plays in midfield, we're consistently shit in midfield. He needs to go. Scott McTominay needs to go. I will tell you that now for a fact. United need to stop this. Oh, he's an academy player. We don't want to sell academy players nostalgia. And actually go, you know what? If this player's crap, if this player's not good enough, we need to get over it and sell them. But we don't. United seem to be reluctant to sell academy players, young stars. They don't like to let go. And that's what winds me up about United. It winds me up. Just let him go. Let him go. Let him go. He's not good enough. He's not. He's just because he's our youngest midfielder, always in the academy. No, let him go. Scott McTominay is not good enough for Manchester United. He's consistently proven that. And if we want to be a top team, Scott McTominay doesn't get you there. Even as a bench player, he's crap because the drop off from him and Casemiro. Scott McTominay is not a player that wins you titles. He's not, for me, I don't get the weird McTominay obsession Man United have as well. He's had too many chances. Yeah, he's had too many chances. I think he needs to go to a Leicester City. Alice, nobody's going to sign Sancho was on 350k a week. That is the big problem as well. Sir Alex Ferguson selling cleverly, sell McTominay exactly. And we should sell the whole midfield except Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno. I mean, I'd keep Fred as I don't mind Fred as a bench option because he's actually good. But McTominay's not good as a bench option. I generally think I'd rather play Kobe Mainoo with no experience and stick him in. We need Kante and Kimmich. Not really. I mean, Kante's past it. Kimmich potentially. Dream transfer window, Vlahovic, Enzo Lafitte, Kim and Jay, Kudus, and Kone or Neves as backup. Casemiro. Realistic might be Kane, Kone, and a number 8. I mean, United need a number 8, a Casemiro backup, a striker, someone to go into defence, whether centre-back or right-back, and potentially a goalkeeper. But the number 1 priority is striker. The number 2 priority is number 8. And the number 3 priority is Casemiro backup for me. And then number 4, you look at centre-backs and right-backs. QATAR will not hesitate to sell Scott. That story seems straight from Murta. I agree. Scott will be 27 in December. He's not young. I think Frimpong's good. People might think he's crap. I think he's good as well. I think he's good. And Sabitza's better than Fred and McTominay, but still not good enough. I wouldn't keep Sabitza. I know 20 million for Sabitza is a bargain price. And I know that if we play him next to Casemiro, we might get the best out of him. But I don't think, Sabitza's the type of profile we need. I think 20 million is a bargain price. I think as a bench player, he's all right. But Sabitza hasn't done enough at United for me to say sign him. I think that we could do better than Sabitza. I think he's a good player, and I think he's available for a good price, but I don't see him as I don't think he's the profile we need. I like Sabitzer. I think he's a good player. I like McTominay, but I don't think he's the profile we need. I would, but would I keep Sabitzer as a bench player? Yes, for 20 million, yes, but that doesn't solve our problems, Sabitzer, not at all. We need to be looking at a solid number 8. We need a solid number 8, someone that's really going to create as well. Frimpongs really fast and can defend. He's all right at defending, but he's a bit vulnerable there. I think Frimpong, this is why I would sell Dalot and not Wan-Bissaka, but Ten Hag prefers Dalot because, Frimpong's very good going forward, insane going forward, but Wan-Bissaka's insane defensively. So it balances out. If you need to rotate from Frimpong, you've got Wan-Bissaka to counter his weaknesses. Dalot is vulnerable defensively, and Dalot might be better than Wan-Bissaka going forward, but Dalot isn't good at going forward. Maino and Sedan might even be able to get minutes and do more than Scott. Scott's getting the minutes is charity at this point. And I'm at the point where I don't like sticking a youngster in a big game, but I'm at the point where I generally would trust Sedan Iqbal to do a better job than Scott McTominay and chuck him in. I really would at this point. And people might say, "Oh, that's a bit dramatic," but I don't trust. I don't trust McTominay. He's had enough chances and he's consistently not been good enough. So yeah, for me, I would look at. I'm at the point where I just say, you know what, chuck one of the youngsters in. Chuck one of the youngsters in. Where with Dalot, his form was up and down. When Dalot was in form, he was fantastic. And maybe that's what Ten Hag sees in him. A young player, when he was in form, he's fantastic. Got room to learn and grow. Got room to adapt to Ten Hag's style. I think there's someone there in Dalot. But yeah, his form has been very, very inconsistent. But look, people, I do want to thank everyone for tuning into today's live show. I do think I'm going to wrap up the live show here, but there's going to be a video tomorrow. There's a lot of transfer news, a lot of general news going around surrounding Manchester United at the moment. So very likely to be a video out tomorrow morning, early morning. There'll probably be a video tomorrow afternoon as well. Just so much news today. I think I'm going to do a video that really goes into the transfer news because it said that, we're going to listen to offers for this player and this player. Basically, there's a big story that came out today about 10 players, 10 selling and 5 players he wants to buy. And I think I will do a video tomorrow because I really want to talk. I haven't really spoke in depth about the articles that come out from Lutkers today. And there's mad transfer news coming out today regarding like Ten Hag being ruthless and selling Sancho and lots of players. So I think there'll be a video tomorrow morning to really dive into actually the news and what it says because we're more talking about players and having a shit chat. So make sure you subscribe for that. If any breaking news comes out tonight, there will be a video. With the sale, there could be breaking news come out any day this week. So do subscribe with the notification bell on because as soon as we get some information coming out on the sale of Manchester United, there will be a video. So if that is tonight, there'll be a video. If that's tomorrow morning, there'll be a video. If that's tomorrow, it's the video. There's just so much coming out on the sale. So make sure you subscribe. A lot of news going to come out this week. Also, we lost to Newcastle. So the day after we lose, there's always loads of stories and PR, etc., etc. Anyway, everybody, thank you for watching today's video. Do smash that like, do subscribe. Why are we becoming so reactionary and selling Sancho? I'm not saying we should sell Sancho. I wouldn't sell Sancho. I give him one more season. It's just the news going about. See you next time and bye.